So the only thing is I don't have any water, so we can't actually test pan it. I think we just take it, classify it, and
Make sure you get your GPS coordinates.
yeah. And just run a little test, see if my daddy told me the truth. Think I can trust my truck there?
Trust what?
My truck sitting there?
Yeah, we're right here. We're not going that far.
So I like this spot right here. It's got the big cobbles, comes down from that wash over there. Oh, that's interesting. There's some it's got a little dam there that might be. I like this. I like this down here.
Okay.
Let's just throw some dirt from here and there and just see, you know? That's interesting. So I'm putting it through a 1/4 inch first. I don't see any round rocks. I would prefer that they were round. Yeah. These are like wash rocks. All right. That's enough to find out if there's a grain or two, a speck or two of gold in there. So let's take that back with us and run it out. So I got it down. That's what, 1/2 inch. And this is 1/4 inch. So we'll take that and
Probably pull those 2 rocks out.
pardon.
Pull those 2 rocks out of the top.
Yeah, see, I wish these were rounder. There's nothing round. That means it's fresh, you know, relative geologically fresh. So, could be nothing. Or could be a couple of specks of gold, you know? And this is a wash that comes down. Turn around and show them the mountains. Straight down from the Oregon mountains, not Oregon, but Oregon mountains above the Mesilla Valley in southern New Mexico. And we were just up at Dripping Springs Visitor Center. The Oregon mountains are beautiful. And we saw this wash and we thought they did silver mining up here. We saw samples of silver ore. They did lead mining up here. Excuse me. We saw samples of lead ore. So might be some other metals here too, besides that beer can over there. So we'll take it, process it out, and see if there's a little bit of gold, like my daddy used to say. There's gold in every dry wash in. He used to say it. He used to say it like a miner. There's gold in every dry wash in New Mexico. But then he'd go back to his normal accent. Hey guys, this is Toby Eunice of Garage Prospecting, and this is what I'll call the Oregon Mountains Dripping Springs Dry Wash Paydirt. It's paydirt that we collected while in the Dripping Springs recreational area near, above Las Cruces, but below the Oregon Mountains. And by now you've probably seen the drone footage of the area. First thing I wanted to do, and I'm going to start making this a habit with all our samples, is I'm going to run it under the microscope just to see what's happening. I haven't checked it for magnetics yet, but let's take a look and see if we need to put it through the dry magnetics. Oh yeah, it's got some, not a whole bunch, but it does have some. So I want to take a sample of that as well. And because that's a lot of magnetic material. So we may have to run it through the dry magnetic separator just to see what's going on. So let's take a look at these two samples. Now in order to do that, I'm going to turn off the overhead and go straight to the scope. So let me just start that. All right. There we go. I'm going to turn this overhead and you'll be able to see it under the microscope here. So the first thing that, well, I shouldn't say I don't like about it is a lot of these rocks aren't rounded. They're sharp edged, which means there's not a lot of age on them and there's not a lot of water running over them. But I see some granite. There's some quartz. I don't know what that is right there. Let's take a closer look at that. I'm going to bring it in just a little bit. I won't spend a lot of time doing this, but I promised myself that I was going to start looking at this material. So just an interesting piece of quartz there. So there is some white quartz, and as you can see, there's some of that, that could be calcite. There's some quartz right there. See a piece right in the center there, some quartz. That's a good sign. Lots of different things, some coloring. So that orange thing right there has got some iron in it. There's some quartz there too. And that quartz has, that one right there, has some mineralization in it. That's a good sign too. Oh, look at that big chunk. Wow. So I'm going to get a little bit closer on this. Let's see, we're going to bring this way up. Because I like that piece of quartz, and here's why. It's got some mineral trapped inside of it, see? That gold colored material in there. That could be a good sign. So let's take a look at the magnetic stuff, because I can see it. I can see magnetics in here, all that black sand that you'll, let me bring it out so you can see it more better. More better is not a word. That's a damned interesting piece of quartz there. So some magnetics. Look at that one right there. So that's a piece of, let's zoom in on this baby here. Another piece of white, yellow quartz with iron discolorization and some metallics embedded. Maybe we got something here. All right, let me zoom back out and take a look at the magnetics real quick. I don't want to spend too much time on this. Let's see what we got in the magnetics here. So this material was all attracted by the magnet. And you'll see, of course, the smaller material, real small material, which is just magnetite. And then you'll see larger rocks that have smaller pieces of magnetite in them, and that's what attracted them. So, what do we got right there? Zoom in on that baby. Look at that shiny little piece right there. And it's not unusual for the magnetite to pull up a piece of gold with it. The question is that gold or just shiny rock? It looks pretty shiny. Maybe it's some mica with some iron in it. So that's your black sand. And it's funny because it's not really black sand. If it was black sand, it would actually be a little bit larger than it is. It's just magnetite. But you can see these other rocks that were attracted, that long white one there, you can see it was attracted because it had magnetite embedded in it. So we may have to run it through the dry magnetic separator. Let me turn that off for now. Yeah, a little bit of it. Okay, so now that we've looked at it under the microscope, I think what we're going to do is we're going to just take it down to the -20, which is what goes best through the magnetic separator. We'll run it through the 10 mesh, the 20 mesh. We'll take the -20, we'll run it through the dry magnetic separator, and then we'll run the remaining material through the 40 mesh and the 60 mesh so that we separate it into the different processes. How does that sound? Sound like it makes sense? All right, let's do that. All right, let's talk about the plan for the rest of the night. First of all, I'm going to take this material and I'm going to put it through the 10 mesh. Now my guess is I think I may have already run it through the 10 mesh. But then what I'm going to do is run the contents of that through the 20 mesh, and then we're going to stop classifying for just a little bit, and we're going to run this -20 material through the dry magnetic separator. Then we'll come back and we'll run that through the 40 mesh and the 60 mesh, and then we'll start the process of panning using the cleanup sluice, using the spiral, using the blue bowl, and using the Miller table with each of the classifications, okay? I'm going to use a shovel for this. This thing has holes on the sides. I'm afraid I'm going to spill it. And that's why I put this plastic container here, so if I do spill any, I can catch it. All right, so I'm quiet. We'll speed it up for you. All right, so here's where we're at. This is the -10 material. That's just going to go into my Mighty Mill collection. It's not worth even taking the time to pan it out. This is the -10 plus 20. That'll go directly into the sluice. Even though it may have some magnetite in it, I'm not going to run the plus or the plus 20 through the dry magnetic separator. This is a -20. I'm going to run that through the dry magnetic separator. That'll pull out some of the magnetics, the magnetite, and what's left I'll run that through the 40 mesh and the 60 mesh. So eventually it'll end up in the spiral panning machine, the blue bowl, or the Miller table, depending. Okay, there we go. All right, here we go with the dry magnetic separator. I have the medium-sized funnel in. I'm going to set the power to a little like 13.5. Get us started. The good material will go in on this side, the magnetite in on this side. I think I said I'm using the medium-sized funnel. So actually I may turn it up because it'll go a little bit faster. Do it at 15.7. So my biggest problem is spilling stuff, so. All right, so here's where we're at. This is the -10 plus 20. That is going through the cleanup sluice. This is the -20 minus the magnetite. I ran it through a second time with a smaller funnel and didn't get much more than what I already had. But there was some in there. So now we're going to take this -20 and we're going to run it through the 40 mesh and then that through the 60 mesh, so we have everything ready to go for the rest of the process. All right, let me get set up and I'll be right back. This is a -20. We're going to run it through 40 mesh right now, see what we get out of it. Right, here's what we got. -10, that's going to go through the cleanup sluice. -20 is going to go through the spiral. -40 is going to go through the blue bowl. And -60 is going to go through the Miller table. All right, guys, here we go. Running the -10 material through the mining magnets cleanup sluice. Let's see how we do. I do have some jet dry in there already, and I have brushed the bubbles out. So let's see what we do. I've got it set at about 6 volts. I decided to keep it at a low voltage today because I'm uncertain about this material. Let's see how we do. There's some rocks, but I don't see any gold. one little tiny speck of gold out of the sluice. So what does that tell us? That tells us that there was some gold there sometime. Now there was another little one floating around. It looked like gold to me, but I just couldn't get it to sit underwater. And it just kept floating towards the wherever I was draining. So I'm not even certain that it was, but I will snuff that up and add it to our collection of one and move on to the, let's see, the -20 material. And we'll put that through the spiral, see what we can get out of there. But there's gold. We are going to process the -20 material through the blue spiral, the Desert Fox spiral gold panning machine. I have everything set at optimum, meaning the bowl is at 45 degrees, the water is at medium, and the bowl speed is at medium as well. So let's see what we can do here. Okay guys, we have got some gold in there. Let me count them up and then I'll take a picture for you. This is what ended up in the plastic cup that I kept dumping out. All right, let me switch over to the blue bowl, get this cleaned out so I can add it to our collection and go on to the next one. Oh, there's one right there that I'll need to process out. All right, we're back with the blue bowl. I am controlling, let me get a shot of this so you guys can see what I'm doing here. I have my hose wide open, my spigot wide open, and I'm using my regulated DC power supply to control the flow of water. I have it running between 5.5 and 5.6 right now. It's drawing 0.57 amps, which is way less than this pump is capable of. And that gives me about 1.5 inches from the top. So I want it for this particular batch of Paydirt at minus 40. I want it just a little bit higher. So I'm going to raise the voltage up to 6.0 right there. Okay? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to stop this. You can see it's running through the volcano. I'm going to stop it so I can put the Paydirt in and put it along the edges, and then I'll restart it again so that it will start pushing the Paydirt or the overburden through the volcano, and then the Paydirt or the gold should stay on the bottom if there is any gold at all. All right? So as I said, this is the minus 40 material. So at some point I'm going to turn off the overhead lights so you guys can actually see what's going on in the blue bowl. And then I will adjust the water speed and the level height by using the DC regulated power supply. So let's go off and running here. All right, I'm going to turn off the overhead light. So what's interesting to me is that material behaved very differently from every other type of material that I have run through the blue bowl. There is one, I'll get a shot of it so you can see it. I'll try and put it in the center. It's going to have a hard time focusing on it because of the water. So that's, all right. So it's going to have a hard time focusing on the water. These are all heavies in here, but that little spot right there is a speck of gold. So we got one speck out of the blue bowl. Not bad. All right, I will snuff that up and add it to our collection for this run. All right, so I'm ready to run the minus 60 material, and I'm running it through the USA Prospector Miller table. I've got it set at 4 degrees angle of attack and 0 degrees across, and you can see the water flow here is pretty even, and that's what we're looking for. I don't know whether you can see it or not, but since this is a koi pond pump or an aquarium pump, it's not set up so that I can control it with the DC regulator. So I purchased one of these, which is a 120 volt controller, basically. And so I'm controlling the speed of the water using that. But what I'm looking for is this V shape up here so that I know that it's even across the board, across the table. All right? So let's see what, oh, you know what I need to do? I need to wet this stuff. And that's going to take forever if I do it that way. So this is minus 60 material. I'm interested to see, we've found gold mostly in the spiral. We did find one speck in the, found one speck in the sluice and another one in the blue bowl. I also need my brush. So I have added jet dry to the water. You can see the bubbles. And I also brushed it down with jet dry before I started running it. So I'm hoping that helps collect more. I'm going to keep an eye on the gold to see if it travels, if we see any gold, to see if it travels downward, and we'll correct the angle of attack if we have to. So we'll make that our gold line right there. See if there's any. I don't see any yet. So this actually, minus 60 material actually had more volume to it than pretty much any of the others. So I'm going to be quiet now and we'll just let this run. All right, let's see if I can get this for you. So we got 2 specks. One of them right there, and the other one over here. Oop, where's it go? Right there. A little of that. So 2 more specs out of the Miller table. So that's what, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 out of it. So I don't know whether you noticed, but every once in a while I'd see this speck right here, and I didn't want to lose him. And if I even brushed him towards the top, he'd get kind of squirrely. So let me pull these 2 out, add them to the collection, and I don't think I'm going to waste my time weighing it. It's not enough weight to make any difference on the scale. Oh, there's another little tiny piece right there. So 3, little tiny one. And then we'll put it on the microscope, see what we have, okay? Okay, guys, well, let's see what we have under the microscope. I think I lost, as I was moving stuff around, I think I lost one of the pieces. But let's take a look, see what we got. I'm going to go with the highest level exposure so we could count them, or magnification. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep, I lost some. But there's gold in dry washes in New Mexico. Let's zoom in a little bit and see what we got here. We can move it around if we have to. I'm just going to zoom and magnify. There's one that looks like a duck. But as usual, so it varies from the very shiny to the dull. There's one I think looks like the duck. And, you know, a lot of texture, a lot of character. This one here looks like something that we pulled out from, where was it? Was that the Miss Kimoson's Blueberry Tundra Delight? Because it's got that little shiny thing going on. So yeah, most of it's kind of the dull color, or the dull tone. What is that? Of gold. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start another vial of just the gold that we're collecting in New Mexico. Because next week, so I've been promising to run that other bag of Colton's Idaho Dredge Cons, but Shelley and I were down in Las Cruces this last week, and we were there for a gem and mineral show, and on the second day that we were there, they had a field trip to their mining claims so that we could do some rock hounding, and we collected a bunch of rocks from up there below the San Andres Mountains. And but on the way down, there was a wash that came straight down from the mountains, so we stopped and we collected another sample, did a little gold, I don't know if we can call it gold prospecting. I guess now we can call it gold prospecting. We collected another sample from that location there. Oh look, there's a piece of quartz that got in the mix there. Maybe that's what I was counting. So I'm going to run that for next week. Another New Mexico dry wash gold prospecting adventure. All right. Well, guys, that's it. We did get some gold out of it, and it looks pretty good. So enjoy. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.